Hi, I'm Ashley Pitzer, your host of Practicing Life podcast, and today's episode is on meekness. Now, meekness is something that for a good period of my life, I really wanted to be meek. I trained myself to be meek. And so I'm speaking to you today from these experiences. My objective for you, my intention for you is just for you to consider this. Was this part of your lifestyle? Did this work for you? Did this not work for you? To kind of gain perspective. Now, I'm speaking from my experience. This does not mean it's a fact. This does not mean that this is the right or wrong way to be, but I'm even going to talk about that, right? My own definition of things. Part of my goal in life is to help you live from the heart. And I am a thought leader, and a thought leader challenges you to think differently. But what is right for me may not be right for you, and what is right for you may not be right for me. This is a large part of who I am and what I believe. And I just want to take this time now to allow you the freedom, which you already have, to be who you are because it's what's right for you. This is one of my passions and one of my purposes. This is how I empower people. So whatever you hear today, question it. See if it works for you. See if it's relatable to you, and take away what you want to take away from it. So let's start off with meekness. Now, I'm going to actually start off with the fact that in the religion that I practiced, I knew that I was meant to be meek and humble. But I really didn't understand the difference between the two. So when I'm talking to you today, I'm explaining to you how that confusion in my mind, how I muddled these words together, and how I basically intentionally, consciously and intentionally lived a meek life. Because I thought that's what I needed to do. That's what I should do. That's what I thought was expected out of me in order to be a good Christian. Now, I don't operate from this point of view today, but I did have those two confused, so I'm going to be talking about them. So meekness is associated with going along with what others want you to do, to be. It is a matter of characteristics. It is about being quiet, kind, and gentle. It is a willingness to accept and submit without resistance to others. By definition, it is being submissive. It is living in a subdued way. So again, by definition, meekness is being submissive. And so what does being submissive mean? It is allowing others to control you. Okay, so let's look at that definition, and I'm going to apply my experiences to it. Allowing others to control you. This is how I lived. And I lived it for several years. And the whole point of this in the Christian life that I was living is the idea was that if you are meek, you will experience peace. But it was not peaceful for me to be meek. It was not peaceful for me to be submissive. Allowing other people to dictate what is right for me and what is wrong for me, what I should and shouldn't do, did not feel peaceful. It is one of the reasons that I often felt like a robot, disconnected from my own body and my own heart, and just living this life that I was supposed to be living. But it was not fulfilling. It did not feel good. And the longer I practiced being meek, the more numb I felt to life. This may resonate with you. You may know exactly what I'm talking about because being submissive wasn't fun. It was very disempowering. Allowing other people to control me left me a victim. It left me hopeless a lot of times. It left me putting my life and my future into anybody's hands because I was not just meek with God, I was meek with everyone. I was small. I was small, and I began to live more and more in fear and unhappiness and unfulfilled ways. Peace. What is that definition? Peace is the freedom from disturbance. This is the definition in the dictionary. Freedom from disturbance, tranquility. Now, as a yoga instructor, I felt tranquility. In fact, I've had to do a lot of inner work because teaching yoga for, decades, one of the things that helped me survive all of the chaos and all of the dissatisfaction in my life was yoga. Because when I went to yoga and I did those meditation breathing exercises, that is what yoga is. It is a moving form of meditation where you're using your body and your breath to find that peace and that inner knowing and that balance within you, right? I used yoga to get to a place of tranquility. If I had a problem in my marriage, if I had a problem with a coworker, if I was struggling with something that I didn't like because I was being meek, I could go to the mat and I could do yoga. And at the end of the yoga practice, I could release it and let it go and feel tranquility and find peace. But the problem was I was doing yoga all the time because there's all these problems that I wasn't allowed to advocate for myself, because advocating for yourself is quite different. Advocating is saying that you don't allow somebody to have control for you. I was living a life with no boundaries, and I was an empath. An empath, somebody who can feel other people's emotions. And for the longest time, I could not separate other people's emotions from my own, which made me this peacemaker, which made me this person who was trying to fix everything because I really wanted to feel peace. Meekness also made me responsible for everybody else's emotions. That may not make sense to some of you. But when you are feeling somebody else's anger or somebody else's pain and it feels as if your own, sitting in it is very uncomfortable. And when you are meek, you allow other people to dictate what's right and wrong for you. So if someone came up to me, let's say a boss came up to me super angry that another employee wasn't doing their job and they wanted me to fix it, even though it wasn't my job, and even though my plate was full, I was surely going to do this because I was meek and I didn't stand up for myself and I had no boundaries. So yeah, I was going to stay late and I was going to work harder and I was going to keep pushing myself to meet everybody else's needs because my needs weren't important. My feelings weren't important. So this brings me to being humble. Humble. Having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's self-importance. How does that feel? How does it feel to think of yourself as not important? Where's your energy? Where's your vibrations? If you ask me, I'm going to tell you that both being meek and being humble left me with really low vibrations. I would not personally suggest it because I really believe that the definition of humble is missing. It's missing a little tagline, if you will. It is missing as compared to others, because self-importance is a spiritual journey that, we all are on. You are on it, I am on it, right? The thing is we live in a society where it's black and white. You are one or the other, and there's no and in both. You can be important, and so can the person next to you. We act as if you are allowed to shine and you are allowed to be important, that means I can't be, because only one person can be. This is the huge disadvantage of competition, which somehow we are always in because our culture breeds it. It breeds it as a way of creating excellence. So, humble. Humble is a sign, even in the religion that I was brought up in, that you're not allowed to be important. Put other people first. Again, where's your energy when you're putting other people first? What happens to your self-love when you're not allowed to put yourself first? If God is love and God is within you, two things that I wholeheartedly believe, it would not be congruent to put myself and my desires and my needs last or other people's above me, because by definition, that would be harming me. That would be making it so that I'm not doing self-care, that I'm not taking care of this temple, this body that I own and that I possess. Self-care creates an aspect of self-love. And when you love yourself, you can love another. But when you put your feelings and your emotions last, then you're by definition not giving yourself love because you're making your feelings unimportant. So self-importance can be a spiritual path that you have to go through. But there's a difference between saying that you are special, that you matter, and you are important, and then creating that concept as superior of status. That's really what the definition of humble is missing. My personal belief is that you are important, you are special. You have the right to advocate for yourself. You have the right to put your emotions, your needs, your desires above somebody else, because who else is going to take care of you? I mean, we co-create with the universe, with God, universe, source, infinite spirit, however you identify. We do co-create, and the universe does support us. God does support us. Source does support us. We do this together. But you also have to be the one to take the inspired actions. You have to be the one who follows through. So when we talk about the Bible phrase from Psalms 37:11, but the meek shall inherit the earth and shall delight in themselves in the abundance of peace. I'm going to have to say I disagree. And it's okay that you don't believe me or agree with me, or if this triggers you, all of those things are okay. By definition, the meek will not inherit the earth, because being meek is being submissive and allowing others to control you. When other people are controlling you, how are you to inherit? Because you would immediately give up your control. You would immediately give up what is yours. Because that is gentle and that is kind. And for my religious upbringing, that is how you love someone. You give them the shirt off your back. You are loved, but it is not okay to be more loved than somebody else. It is not okay to be better than someone else. Now, competition, comparison, that steals joy. One of the things that I believe in teaching, what I teach right now to you, is that it can be and both versus either and or. You are important and you can shine. You can feel proud of yourself and you can feel proud of another person. There is a time when living in that competition world, there's only one spot. And so it created jealousy and envy and all of these negative low vibrations. But when you operate from the fact that, yes, I am important and I can rejoice in how important you are, that is a wonderful place to be. That creates not only peace, but joy. That I can celebrate you just like I celebrate me. One of the things that I would share with you is that humbleness, my definition, is giving you space to be you, giving you space to shine, to live your purpose, to believe in you, and to let you have what is right for you, your own beliefs, your own opinions, your own identity, and being okay with I doing the same thing for myself. Allowing others the space to shine and be them without imposing my visions, my views, and my beliefs on you. Now, you might say, that's what I'm doing right now in this podcast. I am sharing with you my experience as a thought leader, as somebody who helps change the way people think by just giving them the permission that they already have to be them, to be whole, to be complete, to trust their intuition, to turn inward instead of externally. Inward is where your heart is and where God speaks to you. When you look at the manuals that we have in life, that is living out of your brain, what you should and shouldn't do, how you have been brought up, how you are told to think. All of that comes from your ego and from your mind. One of the biggest journeys in spirituality is making that connection to your heart, living from your heart. This would be my intention for all people, is to live from their heart. But I can be my own definition of humble and allow you to have your own experiences without making it mean anything about me. My right may not be right for you. You're living your karma and I'm living mine. We're all learning different lessons. Now, I've experienced a lot of enlightenment, and I'm willing to share that with you because that's who I am. Somebody who's easily is able to observe, to learn, to be adaptable, to question, to think, and to share my knowledge with others and give you freedom and space, permission to take what works for you and to leave the rest behind. The difference between being humble and being meek is the attitude one shows towards themselves and towards others. How much difference is there? What is different for you? Are you living a life of meekness? And does that bring you peace? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel like sharing your joy with others? If so, that's wonderful, and I'm happy for you. But if not, I would ask you to consider, what does your heart want? What does your heart need? How can you live more aligned with your heart? What would bring you more peace? One of the reasons I didn't experience peace is because when I was allowing other people to dictate for me, it didn't always feel good. It wasn't always what I wanted. And stuffing down my emotions really did not help me. It's my personal belief. It's stuffing down my emotions, ignoring my wants and needs led me to a path of having an autoimmune, of being so tired I couldn't get out of bed, of feeling like a robot. And I certainly wouldn't want those things for you. I desire for you what I desire for me, which is to have this vibrant, fulfilling life, to live in your personal power, to trust your intuition and to trust yourself, to decide for yourself what is right and wrong for you. Meekness put me in an energy that could not serve other people. How can you serve another other than to be like a robot and to do what other people tell you to do versus serving to inspire, to lift, to expand others, which to me is the definition of love, expanding people, making them feel something bigger and greater. Meekness made me small, made me invisible. It did more than pull me in the opposite direction of self-importance. It made me question how worthy I was. You are worthy. You are valuable. You matter. Your thoughts and emotions matter. Living from your heart matters. So wherever you are today, if you are living a meek life like me, because you think it's going to get you into heaven or prove to the world that you are a good person, from my experience, this is a broken strategy. One of the things I now believe is more closer to Taoism, as above, so below, as above. That's one of the things that I think about a lot, but I also think about it in a different aspect. I think about it as in not that a heaven exists or that a hell exists, because I see that as in this 3D physical world. What you are living today can either be heaven or it can be hell. And it sure is hell to me, living meekness and allowing other people to control me and being voiceless and being helpless and being a victim. That is hell to me. Some people say hell as being without God, but I don't even think that is physically or spiritually possible because God is in your heart. God animates your body. He gives you the power to be in this 3D world. Now you can turn away from him by being up here in your mind and think all the time versus turning to your heart where he's leading you and guiding you and giving you desires. There's that aspect of it. But this to me, where you are right now in this 3D world, is one dimension, and the spiritual world is another dimension. And there are so many dimensions out there that my awareness isn't even aware of in this body. My spiritualness may understand it, and that may come through at times. But where I am today, walking and living and seeing and breathing in this aspect, in this dimension, my awareness is constantly growing. But where I am now, I can see that this life I'm living right now can either be hell or it can be heaven. I can follow my heart. And that brings me towards something that I would picture as heaven. Or I can live out of my brain, consciously analyzing, thinking, being fearful of what people think about me, all of these things that have nothing to do with my heart. I can live out of my mind, and that can be hell. That would be like my definition of hell. See, when I was being meek, I wasn't living out of my heart. I wasn't even thinking for myself. I was allowing other people to think for me and make decisions for me. When you are in alignment with your higher self, You feel joy and you feel peace. But that means that you have to follow your heart. It's not going to get to alignment by following your analytical brain that has been brought up and conditioned from the moment you were born to be somebody, to think a certain way. This is just some things for you to think about and set in your life. Because I desire for you to have personal power. And that does not mean that you are better than somebody else, because we are all connected. But it also doesn't take away from the fact that you get to shine. You get to shine and your neighbor gets to shine. There is no running out of shininess. There's infinite shininess. So you can be important and so can your neighbor too. You can win at something and so can everybody else. There's not scarcity. Scarcity is an illusion. There's limitless love. There's limitless ability to feel love and joy and happiness. It is okay for you to shine. It does not take away from somebody else's shining. It is not your job to necessarily make somebody else shine. Just like I can't make you shine, but I can certainly share with you my perspectives, my lessons, my journey, and you can see what works for you and what doesn't. And you can take the actions that speak to your heart. All right. We've got some really great interviews coming up. I have an interview with Jessica, and she is a fabulous coach, a fabulous hypnotist. I can't wait to share that with you. I also have a podcast coming up with Sarah, who is a coach for people who have neurodiverse kids. She is fantastic, and she is making great improvements to our life and to our world with these neurodiverse kids. And I can't wait to share this with you. I'll see you next week, and you matter.